going to the better of the halves of me. Please show me just a little bit of honesty. I'd hope I got a heart that I can salvage, but it's getting harder now to recall. I know well what let out both dry. You could have anything you wanted, anything you wanted, it all for your fool's gold. And I know well why deaf and half blind. You could get anything you wanted, yeah, I would have handed it all over, falling for you. Only the fall for you, for you, for you. Only the fall for Came in and you're looking like a sign of grace. I know, but I can never match your name to face my fault. But when I noticed it was far too late, you left a fingerprint on my soul.
We came prepared to kill the operation. It ain't fair, but I feel it be the nation. So raise the flag and do the preparation. Welcome to reality, there's no way back. Welcome to reality. Can't fuck with that. On top like forever, man. This is hard fucking beeping after aliens. We on top of the world, we the sapiens. Do you understand massive complication there? Do you really think you know what I'm made of? My flow is so magical, I'm old, call me Gandalf. You can shine, but I'm about to go off. Heard me wanna believe what I'm saying, but I cannot do this at all. Welcome to reality, there's no way back. 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 Welcome to reality, there's no way back.
Welcome back, everybody, to BLITZ Season 2. I am Goose, joined here by Lumi. This is Week 1, Play Day 3, and we've got a little bit of a heater and two very first matchups and two first play days for these new teams in an entire new division.
Yes, hello everyone. Welcome to tonight's stream. I'm super excited to be joined here today by Goose. I'm looking forward to today. I know that Lycus Empire is a very strong team, and I'm looking to see kind of what happens today. I'm hoping to see a lot of unexpected plays and a lot of, aggression on both ends, and I'm hoping it'll be an exciting game.
Yeah, it's going to be Lycus Empire versus TSG Black. It will not be TSG's Pro League roster, but this will be Lycus's Pro League LATAM roster. Even though they did go 1-9 in the LATAM stage in their own conference, they still are going to be here competing today, and we'll get to look at the rosters. We're going to see who exactly we will be seeing in the lobby today.
Alright, so taking a look at Lycus Empire first, we've got their whole roster here. I love these little, quotes that we've got going on. This is new. I honestly had no idea what I was expecting coming into this, but I love what the graphics team has done. It looks like Afix is who we're looking at today, or do you think it's just, a random order?
I don't exactly know. Our producers have not filled me in, but I have gotten to see the behind the scenes. Each player did get to choose their little quote down here below. We got Jay, Apex, Cadent, Cuervo, and Indra, who is Jay's lapdog apparently, lining up the Lycus roster today. And keep in mind, all 5 of these players, to my full knowledge, were on the full LATAM team when they did play Pro League, so not too many changes being made here. But on the other side for TSG Black, remember, not their Pro League team, but their actual amateur side of the team. We got Roxo, Godox, Geek, The Freak, Scarp, and Slash. A couple of new names and players I'm not more familiar with. I do know Scarp and Geek, but the rest, I'm going to get to learn and get to see exactly how they play. And also keep in mind, every single player did get to choose their operator. That doesn't mean that it's their most played operator or their favorite operator. That's just the operator that they chose. So that could maybe give us maybe a little bit of a sneak peek or a hint at what we could potentially see in today's game.
I am super looking forward to it. I mean, there's a Clash on there. Do you think they're actually going to take Clash in the game? I know shields, especially the attacking shields, have been super strong. And I think I saw on Twitter a couple days back, pro players have literally said, if you want to get in Pro League, your #1 way is to learn how to play a shield. So I don't know if Clash actually applies to that role, but I hope we see some creative, goofy things tonight.
Oh, yeah. It's shield meta is just very difficult to deal with. But we got to see what maps we're going to be playing. This is a best of 3. Every single game in the group phase is a best of 3. We got rid of the best of 1s entirely. We already seeing Lair being banned out. Bank the very first pick from Lycus and TSG, following up with a Clubhouse. Almost getting that skyscraper. Didn't believe that they were going to pick it. And eventually we will finish out on Chalet. Chalet and Bank have been a very common mainstays in the current T3 scene. And the Clubhouse still, following back up, but is a little bit more of a surprise.
For sure. Looks like we're kind of staying on a lot more of the safer maps tonight. Bank is a nice little throw in there, as I know a lot of teams do still like to ban it. No surprise seeing Lair banned so fast, along with Consulate. Seems like those are the pretty common bans right now in not even just T3 leagues, but even in upper leagues too. I know a lot of teams try to stay off them unless they're, looking for a pocket pick.
Yeah, now we're actually going to go back. We're going to get to see our divisions, see exactly what teams have been doing, how they've been doing. If you're just tuned in, if you haven't seen the last 2 play days, Envy beating the Unks, topping their group, and the exact same thing for Mormon Battalion and O-Block, and then Fluffy Aimers getting the best of Wildcard Aces off stream. And as I said before in the pre-show, or earlier in the pre-show, rather, this is the very first game for Divisions 4. So Thrive, TSG, and Lycus have not played a game yet, so whoever wins today will take that first place. And keep in mind, this is a best of 3. So even if we do go to overtime, the point system will not matter as it does in a best of one scenario. So whoever wins at the end of the best of 3, no matter how the scoreline goes, will top their group for Division 4 today.
Looks like we're going to see some big dogs hopefully emerge from tonight's game then. It's always nice to see who it is that you're trying to beat in these leagues. That's why I love when games are cast, so you can kind of get that info on your enemy teams. So I'm really just looking forward to see tonight's game.
Yeah, that is a really huge factor that a lot of people don't really intake for games simply being casted. Obviously, almost every player loves being casted, especially if your play is called over. But more importantly, for teams that want to try and VOD, that want to try and see how their opponents may play when they're scrimming, using cast or VODs are an absolutely phenomenal option to really get to know your opponents. And especially for a team like TSG and Lycus, this group, or division rather, is just so cutthroat. Obviously, Lycus 1-9 in their group in the LATAM Pro League for Stage 2. But again, it is Pro League, so they deserve to be there. They beat other teams. So this shouldn't be relatively, I don't want to use the word bad, but it shouldn't be an easy game for TSG. I think this is, on paper, should be relatively even-sided for both teams going into it.
So, being even on paper, per se, which team do you still think, in your personal opinion, is going to be taking it tonight?
I'm going to have to go with Lycus. I know a couple of people on the TSG roster, including their coach. I've talked with them a little bit. But I just know more off of Lycus. Obviously, the 1-9 isn't bad. One of those losses was in overtime. But I just simply have more info to go off. So based off of what I have, I will go with Lycus. But again, as I've said before, a lot of these players on TSG I'm not familiar with. They have been rotating. They have been slotting in new players. That's simply just how T3 rosters really go in the entire scene for Rainbow Six. So just based off the only information I have, I'm going to have to go with Lycus.
Definitely. Now, I will admit right now, I'm not super familiar with either of these teams, but I do know Lycus Fempire, which is their all-women's team, and that team is a heavy hitter. So if this team is anything like their women's counterpart, I should hope that they have some amazing plays for us tonight, and I do hope to see that kind of shining through. So I think I agree with you that I'm looking to see them take this game, but I'm also hoping to see some unexpected, upsets in tonight from TSG. I haven't seen them play before, so pretty mild expectations,
Yeah, so I've been fact-checked. Apparently this is a debate now. First of all, we will have a sub, as I believe one player is having a little bit of issues with their power. So Sai will be subbing in for Indria, and also, I was wrong. Only one of these players is from the roster that played in Stage 2 of the LATAM League, that being Apex, so I do apologize for getting that wrong. But nonetheless, still you have that consistency. You have that player who's been in the system. You still have that coach, unless I'm wrong on that also. But you do have a system still in place. So again, my pick will stay with Lycus, simply just because they have more experience. Obviously, I don't know what's been going on behind the TSG scenes. I do know their coach tweeted on Twitter that they've been working really hard in the past month, which the fact that they've had a consistent roster and they've been working hard in the past month for a T3 team is astonishing, no offense, especially when you don't have E4 or a league like BGS. You don't really see teams put in that much effort. So it's nice to hear that from the TSG side of the guys. But again, still going to side with Lycus just for this best of 3.
Fair enough. I agree. I think it's still super beneficial to have even just one player to have that kind of experience. It's hard when you're a group of 5 and you're new to something. So I think having the experience in the setting is going to be super beneficial. But I also want to say that, having experience playing as a 5 for longer could also be very beneficial for a team, because then you can get that synergy build up. Suddenly the calls you don't need to be quite so detailed with. You can kind of just know what your teammates are expecting of you to do in different situations. And so just having a lot of time playing together, which I know we said, if I remember correctly, what you said is that TSG does have a lot of roster swaps. But just having that experience with rosters is super big, especially in the T3 scene. And I think that's what's so disappointing sometimes when you see a player be brought on for a league and then drop to the next league and you bring in a new player, because it really limits the capacity to which that you can build that synergy, that, larger group feeling of the team.
Yeah, we're still yapping. We're still trying to get people in, just the way that Siege is, with glitches, the entire bug of just simply trying to invite players is an absolute headache. We will not be going into a tech bot, so we'll get a little bit more time to talk throughout. But this is, again, the very first time not only both of these teams have met in recent times, but also for BGS. This is their very first play day. So not only do we not exactly know what going forward, but each other do not know what they're relatively expecting from each other, and they don't exactly have a great idea. This map pool is very specific to me, because obviously Bank has gotten a little bit more love, especially now that Oregon is not in the map pool, so you're seeing maps like Bank get played a little bit more, but it's still a map that you have to go to with a relatively strong game plan and understand how you want to play the map, and if you don't, it simply will just be so one-sided. So the fact that we are going to Bank in itself does say that it is going to be a relatively strong overall game plan. Let me check real quick to see who actually chose it. It was Lycus Empire pick. Again, yeah.
Yes.
So I'm actually very confident for Bank for Lycus, because obviously you have that coaching material from the LATAM scene, but on top of that, again, Bank is a map that you really do need a strong idea for.
For sure, Bank has just so many different ways that you can take certain things. Like the top floor alone, there are 3 main entry points. That's not including if someone decides to walk up one of the 3 different staircases. And I feel like it's just, you could get so creative on that map. So I know that there is the default takes that a lot of teams prefer to tend towards, but even those default takes, you still need to have a lot of cohesion. I mean, if you can only get into one of those 3 areas, you're still going to struggle. You really need to know how to split push and, split your team into 2 and 3s and work in those smaller groups to still make this work, which is why I think we see only the teams that really have that synergy taking them.
Yeah, and if you're not very familiar with the scene, and you're probably wondering why TSG picked attack, which, because this was not their map pick, they were able to choose a side. They did choose that attacking side. It is the favored side for Bank. A couple of years ago, it was very defender-sided, but if it is played at that high level throughout T1, it is notoriously a 4-2 favored for the attacking half. And if it is, I don't want to use the word played correctly, but if it is played to how it should in theory, TSG is going to start on that favored side. Monty already being banned. We've talked so much about those shields. Then also Deimos, another ban that you really have to have either a really big problem deal with him or a specific plan around banning him.
Right. Honestly, I still am surprised to see Deimos banned, because I feel like it does just the same amount of benefit for the defender being scanned, because you still get that scan back on the Deimos, and you have a gun in your hands while he just has a pistol. Albeit a good pistol. But the Azami ban coming out, super common, as she's been super strong with her Kiba barriers, and Cade as our final defense ban. Honestly, a bit surprising in the sense that we have so many impact EMPs and just ways to clear util on the side of attack. But, if the attackers decide they just don't want to deal with trying to get those hatches open or, put any real hassle, especially with that basement hold, hatches being closed is super beneficial for the defense. So just making it a little easier on the attackers, give them one less thing they have to worry about.
Attackers need to locate and defuse as many
Yeah, that
bombs as
castle
they
being
can.
up is just going to add so much utility, and also is going to allow the defense, both on Lycus, now starting on it, just the ability to cut off so many angles and even portions around the map. Most importantly, as you talked about earlier, we're not going to be having that Cade. We'll be starting on the basement, I guess you could say, vault. We'll just call it basement. I forgot the name of it. But in place of Cade, we'll be seeing not only that Kuber out, but also a Scopos who has that ability to put one of her robots on that top floor to potentially flank. So already Lycus prepared for that Cade ban and bringing someone in charge of it.
Attackers are moving out to locate
For sure,
a
and the
bomb defuse it.
Tuberao especially, it just creates so much stall potential for the defenders. Each of those canister buys, I don't want to say the wrong number, but it's between like 15 and 20 seconds, I want to say. And it just stalls for so much time, and it just can really stall out the attackers if they don't have a response for it.
Yeah, and again, already we're seeing a heavy extension by Caden inside of stock. Potentially, if he could read into these two players over in top square, he could get an entry kill, but also he's going to be going onto his cam. These two entry players for TSG, they do seem to be aware of his position over by stock. They do get the ping, and Geek on top of it gets the very first pick. Getting rid of that Solus very early on, and not a second defender on this top floor for Lycus. So this is going to rotate and force all four of these players back down to the bomb site.
Yeah, and you saw Scope was taking some damage there as well before she was able to teleport back onto site. Leaving her second robot up there does still give the opportunity for a late round flank should they so choose to do so. But also, the robot could get caught out by the attackers. But a second pick is going to come out on the side for TSG, bringing us to a 5v3 in favor of the attackers.
Yeah, just losing those two picks completely untraded, and half of the round now gone. And TSG bringing the needed utility to get these hatches open, having 4 of those can openers. This Tuberao will not cause that much damage. It simply will just waste a little bit of time, but he only has 4 canisters. He only has a limited amount of utility.
Right, and only being able to really focus on 1 or 2 hatches at a time is going to give the attackers time they need as they get another pick. We've got a Tubby and a Smoke. The Smoke can create a lot of stall with his canisters as you see them coming out towards blue. He has already used all 3 of them, but with a minute left and a shotgun in the right hands, wrong hands maybe, as he does go down, leaving Tuberao in a 1v5.
Yeah, all up to Karivo in the 1v5. He gets a shot onto the Capital, eventually finish him off with that drone, though know exactly where his position is. And it's TSG to finish off the very first round, very strong, making it known exactly why they wanted to start on that attacking half.
For sure. I mean, honestly, I'm a little bit surprised to see that Solus was so isolated in stocks by herself. I feel like to better roam there, if you don't want to give them those free picks, roaming in duos will at least create refrag potential, in which case then they're not just getting a free pick with 0 repercussions. I mean, Solus, she knew they were droning her out. She did have the fallback with the hatch open, but she just got caught out by the guns, and then from there, when you're in that man disadvantage, the attackers only had to play for trades, which they only did end up losing 1, so it wasn't a flawless round for them, but they did have a very near flawless round. It was very well done on their end.
Yeah, that was a very worrying round for Lycus Empire at that, just losing those 2 picks so quickly, completely untraded. It was no problem whatsoever for TSG to find those 2 players so early on. And their answer for that is going to be bringing this Oryx, is going to allow them to move around the map just a little bit more quickly. Also going to be seeing a Fend Warrior being brought onto the board to just simply deny a couple of spots around the map. Waste a little bit of time, just make sure that they can't push into the site in these close off-site positions as quickly as they previously did. But they're going to need a lot more than that, especially just this positioning, not giving these 1v2, these isolated players on the roam so easily. You can already see Jane getting very aggressive at top blue, playing the smoke, but he'll be rotating right back down to blue, exactly where he should be playing.
For sure. It looks like they're not doing quite as extensive of a roam as they tried that previous round, deciding that they're going to play a lot more consecutively, playing together. I'm not right sure what word I'm going for here, but they're staying a lot more condensed in their control of the map, which does give the attackers a lot of time on their hand. They don't need to worry about roam clearing the top floor. They hardly needed to roam clear the first floor, so they can really start working on how they want to take this site with pretty much 2 full minutes behind them. So really just giving them all the time they want to think and strategize and figure out how they're going to work these defenders. Well, the defenders really just seem content to just kind of sit there and wait for them.
Bomb has been located.
Yeah, they've done exactly what they needed to, and this drone game by TSG is just so admirable. 3 drones making sure the pathway for Godux was completely clear. And the C4 shot mid-air, they know exactly where Epix is, and it's Geek again for the very first entry. Pick will get rid of that Valkyrie, get rid of her life to C4. She will be able to throw all of her evil eyes, so not too much utility wasted, but this will send a message to Lycus Empire that they don't need to get too over-aggressive, that they need to continue to play back. But again, such a great opening round for TSG, but Lycus doing a better job at concealing themselves.
Exactly. I mean, they still gave that 1v2, though, there. The Valk had no chance of getting out there. All she could do was hope to get a pick to trade her own life. Honestly, I think I would have liked to see someone poking at Marble to try and help her there if they had cams to know it was clear. Or just anything other than just trying to, you know, leave her to die, because now you're in this 4v5. I mean, you have the Oryx who can try and do a late flank, and you've got all of the stall, but having that man disadvantage is going to be tough.
And on top of that, they're going for the hatch drop and bringing out those Grim Bees, but Saw gets one on to Scarp. Geek also falls down to Sai. Sai with a double, a triple at that, but here comes Godok. Sai with a quad now in the 1v1. 20 seconds left on the clock. He knows exactly where he is, and he'll win the very first round with an ace for Lycus Empire as they finally find an answer on this basement bomb site.
That was just impressive. I mean, when you see an ace coming out for yours, the smoke player, right? With that, no, that's the Fenrir. My bad. Still, huge on the side of the defense. I mean, they just waited for the attackers to try and just walk right in. I mean, all of them tried to go, what was that, blue and sight hatch? They just tried to go for the classic take, but the defenders were waiting there. They said, if you're gonna walk right in, where we want you, we're gonna meet you there.
Yeah, it was a round where they needed an answer. They needed just something, whether it be a player going huge, and it was Sai with the ace to shut down that round. But again, just Lycus looking, honestly, again, concerning. Like the very first round, sure, they did win it, but at the feet of a hero play, a hero round from Sai, and you're not going to have those every round. As a defensive team, that now being Lycus, you're going to have to put yourself in better situations in this early round as they continue to give away these isolated 1v2s, 1v1s, whatever they may be. They're just giving way too much to TSG in these early rounds.
Exactly. I understand what they're going for is that, you know, that aggressive pressure to meet them at the door, try and make it so they can't just walk right in where they want to go, so that they need to spend this time droning them out. But TSG has been so efficient with their drones, exactly what you're saying. There is never a drone without a person right behind it to swing and refrag off that information that the drone is getting for them. And I just think that's super telling of a cohesive team.
Yeah, you know, also, you know, not necessarily begs to offer, but it does show that this TSG is just honestly cohesive. They understand what they need to do. They're very mature about how they play. They don't overestimate their positions. They don't overestimate their info. They want to make sure that every time they push into a position to try and get that map control, that they have all the intel possible. They do all of their due diligence. And already getting this Mira so early on is going to be absolutely huge as TSG continue to work these windows, eyeing to potentially get a plant down over by CO. But again, Lycus Empire not trying to peek their heads, not trying to over-aggress and give yet again another early peek. We can already see Cadent just lying below at top middle, just so ready, so quiet. It's TSG who's going to need to make the first move.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly the playstyle that the defenders are going for. They are waiting for the attackers to take control of how this round is going to be played. Are they going to go fast? Are they going to take their time? And it looks like the defense is going to get that first pick. IFA getting 2, actually, and then falling back to the site exactly when that's to happen. They have that man advantage now. They can just play off each other and really just play for refrags. The attackers are now in kind of a hot seat.
Yeah, that's absolutely huge. You get that ace and the Twitch off the board, but eventually Geek does deal with Jay a third entry or not entry, but very first pick for his team. Now, with that wall being completely soft, he's going to be able to open it, but he doesn't see Kaden all the way over in stock. Godux, he does see him. He isn't able to land all the shots, so he's not going to be able to finish him off. Sai also trying to peek his way, but it's Curvo the one to deal with Scarp, and now it's just Godux in a 1v4 situation. So unlucky and honestly almost unlosable, but these quick swings and over peaks will not be the dire for Lycus Empire as they find the second and shut down this top bomb site.
Honestly, what it's kind of feeling like now is that Lycus really just needed that first round to try and feel out how TSG likes to attack, figure out how they're going to want to take things, and now they have been adapting to the playstyle that TSG has performed. I mean, they're able to take that second round based off a hero play, but we did start seeing some of that, what we were talking about with what they needed to change. They got those refrags on their teammates, even if it was one person getting all of the refrags. And then that second round, that third round, sorry, was just so much cleaner on the side of Lycus. I mean, they got those opening picks. I think they lost one. But then once they realized that TSG isn't watching, you know, for them to get aggressive back, they were able to just swing stock windows. They were able to push up janitor hallway and just kind of take the aggression once they had that man advantage. And I just think that shows how well they're adapting to TSG. So honestly, I think TSG now is the one who needs to adapt to try and make it so they're not as predictable.
5 seconds left.
After winning both basement and CO back-to-back, will now be going all the way over to open area. We can already see Kaden trying to get aggressive early, eyeing that boss G on his hip. Probably one of the most notorious guns aside from shields in the current meta for Rainbow Six Siege, so that is going to be a problem player that TSG is going to have to deal with very early on. But we can already see Geek trying to potentially open up this wall, open up this bomb site, and also Godux trying to aggress onto the bomb site right outside of it very quickly, trying to apply this aggression right outside the bomb site so quickly and so early, not necessarily eyeing to go for this roam clear just for that.
Yeah, getting this wall open super early, they've had this great history so far in this game of getting open what they need to have opened early on. And they were able to get an early pick off it too, followed by a second.
Apex is able to get one, but Slash answers back. Scarp is putting the bomb down. Geek knows exactly where Jay is, but Jay is able to eventually find one behind the desk. I don't even know where he got it from. A C4 goes out. That could be huge, and it does in fact get Geek. Even it out to a 2v2 now. They don't exactly know where this bomb did go down. Jay just trying to find the head of a TSG player. He does hear the AR ring out, but it's Scarp to get another one, and eventually it's Slash to finish it off as TSG answer back and even it out 2-2.
That was a huge round for them. Like I was hoping to see from them, they did switch it up a little bit, and they took that super aggressive play. I mean, they saw that, what was it, 2 or 3 of the players were playing on that top floor for the heavy roam, and they just, you know, they just walked right into sight from the closet and hopped in printer window, and they were able to get that bomb down quickly. And once that bomb goes down, I mean, the defenders are the ones who now have to scramble against the clock to try and defuse it in time, which gives the attackers the benefit in an already attacker-sided map.
Yeah, it is really, again, what I said, it was on paper going to be a really close matchup, and that was an absolute huge gap spotting from specifically not only TSG, but also Scarp and Geek being able to just completely clear that bomb site, and overextension from Lycus. And because of, once they lost that round, they're not going to try and reattempt it. They're going to be going back down to the basement bomb site now that the 3-site rotation has gone through. They're going to be able to go back down here. Keep in mind, 1-1, so they still have yet to take the lead on this bomb site. Now I'm bringing an Echo out this time around. Again, round after round, just giving TSG a new problem to deal with.
For sure. I'm excited to see what they do with this Echo here. I wonder if they're going to try and play even more passively and just try to use it to deny the plant. You know, kind of just stall out the attackers until they need to plant to take the round, and then the Echo just comes out of nowhere. But I'm excited to see what they're about to do with this Ying, with the Ying and Grim combo. They can really, it seems like they're just going to try to take the site rather aggressively, with the Capitao being able to block off lines of sight and get players out of key positions with his firebolts. I'm just excited to see what they're doing, and it looks like they are, you know, still trying to figure out what their best entrance is going to be.
Again, Geek making his way on this top floor, but finally Lycus are able to deal with them. And Apha is just going to fall right back down to the bomb site, not even going to entertain the idea of roaming anymore. Cadent at the top of blue, still residing, potentially eyeing to apply just a little bit more pressure on this first floor. But TSG, they're playing very concealed, not over-aggressing, making sure that they take every step forward as careful as possible as they find one on to Jay and now even it out to a 4v4.
Yeah, 1:30 left in the round, and they have pretty much established control of the top 2 floors, with Ying still outside, having been on her drone this entire time, just giving that continuous info to her team, which is super big for the attackers. I mean, having the intel on where the defender's sitting and just being able to swing it is going to be way better than trying to just, you know, swing into a blind angle. Your Brown's doing a great job so far of keeping these hatches closed.
Yeah, again, just denying so much time away from TSG. Eventually, these canisters will run out. The C4 trying to potentially throw it. He may have just missed his opportunity. He's going to put it right back in his pocket, save it for later just in case. We can also see Orvo trying to retake space into the bomb site. That's exactly what he's going to do. Now all 4 players for the defense ready to potentially deny this drop from TSG, and TSG very low on intel, don't know exactly the position of these last 4 defenders. 30 seconds left on the clock, and the time is starting to run out, but a Ying Candela will come out to try and potentially blind the players. The smoke will deny Slash from taking any control in the bomb site. The smoke also will ring out. Flexo will try to get the bomb down, but Cuervo, he's able to find the pick onto him and deny with 15 seconds left on the clock. They're going to have to try and make a move now. It's Scarp trying to get the bomb down, but a team kill from Caden. Absolutely unlucky, loses his life to Scarp, but Scarp isn't able to finish it off, and now it's all up to Afia and a 1v1. Just needs to find Slash to get the bomb down, but he has no idea where this last TSG player is. Just trying to look for him, has no idea. He's forced to hop onto the bomb. He knows that he has to be somewhere over by server. But Slash is on server. He's all the way upstairs, trying to get this bomb down. He does hear the drop, though, eventually. Slash is trying to just simply deny time, and he does jump more than that. He gets the kill and finishes out the round as TSG, they take back the lead, now 3-2.
Super big adaptation from them. They had the man disadvantage, but they were able to, you know, just use that slow and steady pace to get those picks back. And honestly, I was a little worried from them when I saw those smokes coming out to deny them taking onto site, and with the Echo still in pocket, I mean, I don't think we saw much usage of his Echo drones to deny the plant. They mostly got that first denial just from getting that pick. But still, big adaptation from TSG, being able to just kind of force their way into the site with the Yings and the Grim intel, and just, you know, basically saying, we're going to outgun you guys when we take the site. And it was super unfortunate to see that TK come out on the side of Lycus as well. I think that was on the side of Lycus, if I remember correctly. Never fun to see that happen, and it's just a little bit lucky, I think, if you just misfire or misunderstand the situation. But I am excited to see TSG as they come out on top, and we go into this next round.
This will be the very last round for the first half, and keep in mind, even if Lycus do lose this round, get the 2-4 half, that is relatively what you should expect out of a defensive team on Bank. In TSG, they still have the potential to get 4-2. Don't, you know, make it too clear. Lycus, they still can even this half out 3-3. Having a very definitive round last time around, they did defend this top floor bomb site. TSG just overextended, and Lycus understanding the positions and exactly where the lines of sight with the TSG players were holding. But now TSG trying to potentially take a winning half. He gets a huge 2-piece, but eventually it's the C4, or it's not the C4, but the Claymore rather.
Still
get
trading
rid of
his
him.
life 2 for 1 is huge for the defenders, especially on that Valk. She already has all the black eyes down, and now he can just sit on cams the rest of the round. He's done his part.
Yeah, it is exactly right. He's done everything that he needs to do. Sure, he won't be able to use that C4, but he gets 2 picks, and probably 2 of the most influential and important players throughout the round. Slash, who's gone absolutely huge, winning the last round, and also Scarp getting rid of all that execution utility on Ying. This just eliminates so much away from TSG, and they don't have any map control on the other points of the map, so they don't really have a whole lot of options in this round.
Especially with both Ash charges gone, Flores with only 1 drone in pocket, Twitch with her drones already out. They don't have a lot of util to exactly work this back in their favor, and only a minute 20 left to figure out how they're gonna, come back from this.
Covered the bomb diffuser.
Yeah, just such an unlucky opening. They will be able to open the wall over by CO, but Afa is more than ready to potentially get the pick onto Geek. Almost does get his head, just misses a couple of the bullets. Geek full aware of his position and be falling off of there. Geek just trying again to get his way, enter his way into the bomb site. No drones for TSG at all. Going into this execution on the bomb site, completely blind. Sai gets another one, getting rid of Selected, and now Cadence also a 4v1 for Lycus as they get that 3-3 half that they just so needed, and they steal away that winning half from TSG.
Super unfortunate when you're in that 1v4 clutch. I mean, there's just not a lot you can do there, and to have... Now, they started that round just low after that 2-for-1 jump out. But going 3-3 is huge for the side of Lycus, as they are now on the favored side of this map. I'm looking forward to seeing how they're going to keep the ball rolling in their favor, or if TSG is going to be able to surprise us and, show us that they can defend this map too.
Yeah, just Lycus really showing why they, are in Pro League, and also hopefully they can follow the success of their Project Harmony team, who just is doing absolutely great in their own retrospect in their own league. And Lycus also trying to back up, keep that name of Lycus Empire holding, as now they are going on to the attacking half. With that 3-3 even split is just going to give them so much use, and we can already see how TSG is playing this basement bomb set completely different, bringing a completely different operator lineup, as Lycus also do that on their own.
Yeah, for sure. We don't see that smoke. We don't see that Tuberao. So they're not doing the same method of denial. We do still see the Tachanka, which is a great time waster. Ooh, the Warden was able to get that first pick, which is going to be big for them.
Yeah, that's going to be absolutely big. Again, TSG continues to go big in these opening picks. And getting rid of that Ying, just like Lycus did just the round previous, is going to just remove so much potential in that execution phase, which, keep in mind, this is a basement hold, and that Ying is almost crucial. TSD doing a bit of a more heavy extension over an open area, having both of those hatches open. As yet another one, now Sai with the Dokkaebi falls, and everything in this early clear for Lycus is absolutely falling apart.
Right, that pulse giving so much good intel about where the attackers are standing, and especially if you're standing on a soft floor, droning, that's just a free kill for pulse. And Fenrir's going to be able to shoot that drone after finding his position and kind of fall back. Switching up his util to kind of adjust to where the attackers are going to be coming from to make sure he gets the best usage out of it.
Half the round now gone. Corvo, right outside the bomb site. That single wall will be soft. No Twitch on the board, nor a Mira. So that will be a problem that will not even be in the realm of possibility. No takeover in Garage. So for Lycus Empire, their entire push is going to be focused over by CCTV or server rather, and just simply dropping on these hatches. They have a semblance of an idea of where this player over by the half walls as they start to deal some damage onto the Tachanka over by the shield. A nade out, trying to potentially clear that player. They do, and Cuervo also gets the pick with the DMR, but just not a whole lot off of that.
They're able to find that one pick, but they're still unable to figure out how they're going to be able to get into the site. Only 40 seconds left. Lion has no more scans for that intel. I mean, the Buck does not have much to help with this either. They're going to just try and have to drop and figure out how to get their picks along the way.
20 seconds left on the clock and just nothing really being done by Lycus. They just don't have any intel, any drones. Apia's gonna try and get this bomb down over by default. No C4s on the board aside from Slash. He does throw it out and he does get the kill. And now it's all up to Jay on the hatch, but it simply is going to be impossible as TSG take their very first defensive round.
I mean, it's just so hard to problem solve when you lose such important util at the very beginning. Honestly, I would have liked to see if they tried something more than just sitting and waiting. I mean, the knock definitely... Honestly, I would have even suggested the Aruni was expecting a walk-up from Garage, which I think would have been the smarter play there, is to just try and go in somewhere that they're not expecting you. They know you're on the hatch. They know you're in CC. You need to go somewhere where they might not expect you to be, especially when you're at that disadvantage. I mean, doing anything is better than doing nothing. And I get trying to hold that angle and, you know, try to prevent them from rotating to make it easier for the CC players. But, you know, when it comes down to it, and then the C4 killing the planter, it was just unfortunate all around for the side of Lycus.
You know, also, you know, a little bit of an update and a little bit of a storyline to our resident Siege nerd patches. Thank you, Diesel. Cadent and Cuervo transferred from the main TSG roster now to Lycus in this offseason after Stage 2. And now they're losing against the team that they just left. As of now, you know, obviously this is still a very close matchup. Lycus are on the favored side. Lycus can definitely take it back. But if TSG is able to get the win here, that's definitely going to be an absolute burner to those two players in the organization as a whole.
Right, they've got something to prove right now, so these players are giving it their all, and I hope to see things end favorably for them.
Early round, not a whole lot of happening. Jay trying to get very aggressive early on. TSG bringing us all the way over to the middle bomb site, that being open area. Will not even attempt to go to this top bomb site, but they will have an extension being held by Geet and Godox, both with the castle and the extension likewise. And right now, Lycus don't exactly know how they want to deal with it. TSG continuing to do a great job of denying these drones, denying this intel away from Lycus, and they don't really have an answer to really respond to it.
Yeah, I mean, you've got TSG doing this heavy upstairs roam, and Lycus is trying to just walk right into it. They're trying to just force this take that they know. Not really doing a lot to try and spot gaps, or not either that or TSG doesn't have many, but Jay will find an opening pick for them on the knock, like I suggested, doing something unexpected and just trying to walk in somewhere. And now able to find a second is huge for TSG. Or, yes, huge for Lycus.
Yeah, that is going to be absolutely huge, and having so much time on the board too, but 2 kills from TSG come out of absolutely nowhere, but Cuervo eventually is able to answer back, but that rotate is being held by Afia, and now it's just a 1v3. Afia also holding, realizing that this last player is extended away from the bomb site. They don't know exactly where he is. Scarp is able to get one onto Cuervo now, making it a 1v2. They have the pings. He's going to be hopping onto the bomb, but do they know that he's on the bomb right now? They may not be able to hear it because of the ace! But with the wall being open, Saudi is eventually able to deal with it based off of the drone on top of it. And Lycus, they find one of their own and even out 4-4.
Yes, things are all tied up now. Exactly what needed to happen. Nog was able to just walk in. Was it open area? Just walk in and then walk up spiral, finding 2 picks. I mean, finding 1 is expected. That's kind of why you're doing it. But to find 2 is huge for Lycus. And I'm glad to see that they didn't throw that advantage when they lost those 2. It got a little hairy towards the end, but once it was down to that, 2v1 against the Mira, Ram dying on the defuse. Had she not been able to get that bomb down, I think we might have seen a bit of a different outcome. But that's just the trust that you have to have when you're the planter, is you just hold F and hope that your team has your back.
Yeah, TSG be taking their timeout relatively early on. In the T3 scene, you do see teams take that timeout in a very crucial round, whether it be a complete just drop of rounds, whether it be 4, maybe 3 rounds in a row, then a team will take out, or if it's on match point. You don't really see a whole lot of teams be taking that timeout in that 4-4 spot, so it does add a whole lot into the coach that has a very deep involvement in the roster and, you know, their game-to-game facilities. So they're gonna be able to talk, you know, fix the problems very early on. Keep it around. That was only their 2nd round on the attack. Already taking a timeout. They want to make sure that they deal with that problem so it doesn't snowball into a bigger one going later into the second half.
For sure. And once you get to that timeout, trying to do it when you're like 6, 6'4", 6'5", I honestly don't see it as quite as beneficial. I like it to see teams that are taking it sooner before it becomes this big problem where if you don't fix it in this round, you're toast. I mean, they have some time still to implement these changes and further feel out how Lycus is going to adapt to them.
Yeah, it does look like we will be seeing yet again another open area being attempted from TSG. Again, putting this heavy extension over onto first floor. And TSG just doing a great job of just having an outreach and a cover on every single point, making sure that they have as much map control around the map as possible to give Lycus a very difficult time. We can also see that Jay is potentially eyeing the same lurk entry point that he did in the round previous.
I liked how effective it was that last round, but looking at TSG with a Fenrir, Kapkan, Legion, and Ella, I'm thinking that TSG is likely going to know wherever Lycus is trying to get into the building just from the sheer util that's being put down. And the mute also limiting how effective their drones can be. They are just doing everything they can to slow down Lycus, make it so they can't just walk in and get sneaky picks. But it's not actually going to do that much for them in this opening pick.
That's going to be an absolute freebie for Corvo. That's just a pick that Godux just should not have been given away.
No.
And he also overextending in his position. They know exactly where he is. They're going to have a drone. They're going to have a player. And Jay is eventually able to find Slash, but Scarp is able to find another one. Corvo eventually does deal with Geek. The C4 comes out from Scarp. It will be able to get Afa low on health, but will not finish him out. Lycus is able to eventually also finish Corvo. Now going into the last half of this round, TSG fighting tooth and nail, but still come in the man disadvantage.
I mean, everything happens so fast in this game, and you saw that, yes, Nock was able to get that sneaky pick, but because of the Fenrir smoke and the Legion mine, it was immediately traded back. However, Lycus was able to, use the fact that they have that person walking in, and you have that follow-up on it. So even though Nock got refrags, they had an immediate answer for that refrag.
Saya does get one onto Lycus, but there's Scarp. He gets one onto the cover. He gets another, a triple for the round, and all he has to do is kill this ace who is being blinded, and it's a quad for Scarp as he clutches. He doesn't even need to kill anyone else. They're all dead, and he has all the time to waste on this bomb. TSG coming out of that timeout, absolutely making a statement onto Lycus as they take the lead, 5-4.
It was still a super close round, though, coming down to that 1v1, and I like to think that if Ace hadn't been blinded there by the Fenrir, it might have had a different outcome, but that's just what this game is now. It's just so heavy on the util. I mean, what are you gonna do when there's, 2 concussions and a Fenrir gadget, and you just can't see anything?
Yeah, I hear a lot of people, especially, I guess you could say the old timers,
Oh, yeah.
say, oh, you couldn't win back in the util day. But honestly, we're in a util meta right now. Sure, you had that Mozzie before, but now you can walk into a position away from the site and run into an Ella, a Legion, a Fenrir, and God knows what else. And there's just so much util that TSG used specifically in that round. They are going to be bringing back that Legion to potentially, aid them and just denying a little bit more of time. But if that Fenrir wasn't there, obviously Scarp is a relatively solid player, but he did aid him in clutching in that 1v1. It is, a what if that, Fenrir wasn't being brought out in that round. But TSG, they're going to be able to go back down to the basement bomb site. And Lycus Empire, still down by 1.
I will say real quick, my favorite interactions are the people who missed the util days are now missing the, TDM meta. They don't like the new util era. But we do still see not as much util on the side of defense, taking that dock and the vigil and the mute. It's still util heavy, but not in the same sense as, a Capcan and a Fenrir and an Ella are. But the Legion still does a really good job at showing where they're coming from, and the Smoke does an even better job at keeping them out of certain areas. And that Boss G!
God. Finally, I also think that's the very first Boss G kill of the entire game. We've seen this Boss G being brought out on the Vigil so many rounds.
And onto
Lycus
the Doke,
did it on their
too.
defense. And yeah, onto the Doke is just an absolute burner, a mental chalker. And again, Lycus just continuing to falter in these entry engagements.
You have to ask, what if that Doke had Boss G, though? Would it have been different?
Doesn't matter, though, because we know that Slash still has the Boss G. Still over by the Vault drop.
He has
not even
moved.
Jay is able to deal with him. And Lycus, they continue to fall. They continue to falter. And keep in mind, on their own map pick at that.
Yeah, if they can't take their own map pick, it is going to look even scarier as we move to TSG's map pick.
Yeah, it's kind of a situation where you just really have to make a big play. We saw last time on this exact same bomb site where Lycus just lost the 2 first entry picks. They just wasted time, and you can't keep feeding him! Oh my god, Slash is running away with an absolute robbery in this round, not being able to deal with them. And Plexios is also able to add on into the round. And now it's just all up to Corvo with the bomb. In a 1v5, 50 seconds left on the clock. Not a whole lot he's going to do. That bulletproof camera will relay, and eventually it is Scarp to finish it off as TSG now, again, further their lead, and now on match point, only 1 round away from taking Lycus's map pick.
I mean, that just has to be a mental chalker to not only lose 3 people to a Vigil, but also 3 people to a Vigil that never moved from his spot. I mean, how many times you have to realize that those comms are just like, why is he still there? Why have we not cleared him? What is going on? And then when you see the Hibana just standing on the hatch in a 1v5, and then you just the only decision to make there is, well, just gonna drop and see what I can do. It's not a mentally healthy round for Lycus. And honestly, I'm surprised that they didn't take their time out then to try and fix it before going into this match point.
Yeah, it is kind of a sense where Lycus Empire have identified that was round that they should not have lost. They continue to give away these opening picks. They're not going to be taking that time out. They potentially either want to save it or they just don't think it will do them that good. Also, keep in mind, they do have a sub, that being Sai, who's done absolutely huge, winning 1 round with that ace, and has continued on with 3 more kills after the fact. But TSG it really looks like they wholeheartedly have a better idea on how to play this entire map, especially on how to continue to shut down these entry engagements, as Lycus don't have a very definitive answer for it.
For sure. When we saw TSG doing that roam clear, they were super, precise with their droning. They droned out every roamer and they swung every roamer in a gunfight that was on their side. It was advantageous for them to swing. And Lycus just isn't doing that. They're trying to just walk into these places. They're trying to just trust that they can face check, and that's not coming out in their favor. I mean, how many times are you gonna send 3 people walking an elevator with a vigil still inside?
Yeah, we can see that Lycus are trying to power at this top square position. They do have a pin. They know that a player is inside of Janitor, but they just can't win it. Godux again now will shut down, the sub and the entry player who's gone absolutely huge throughout this entire game, and still are not fully aware of where his position is. But he does look like he did fall back down that hatch. He will retire and surrender this top floor to Lycus. They have so much coverage, so much line of sight onto this top floor, but aside from that, haven't really gone too much.
No, it's a minute 50 and they've hardly stepped foot into this building. Minute 30 left, sorry. They need to start working their way in. They need to start working together to get these picks, but instead they're gonna lose one to the Pulse C4. Possibly even a second as he just uses the scanner to find out where he's waiting for.
Very unlucky. Again, 2 picks in the entry round, going completely untraded. Lycus, they're going to be able to get this vertical, and they're going to be able to deal with Slash with it. A push by Jay over by Gold. Corvo is able to eventually deal with Godux. Now, even out to a 3v3 just 50 seconds, but Scarf is able to find an answer back, shutting down Jay right outside the bomb site. Cadent all alone with Corvo upstairs on the Ram. And on top of that, you have a rotation from Plexos and Geek trying to potentially cut off and shut down this Cadent again. In a 1v2, they will be getting the info from those Fenrir mines, but it does look like Corvo has potentially escaped his way past the line of sight of these last couple of players, but there's no one in the bomb site. All 3 TSG players are playing right outside of it. Corvo, he's going to be able to get this bomb down. They don't see Cadent in the corner, but Geek does, or Plexos does, and it's Scarp to eventually finish it off as TSG. They will take the very first map pick of Lycus's pick at that. 7-4.
I mean, you just have to feel for the Ram and the Ace, though. You saw the Fenrir and the Legion Mine and another Fenrir gadget. They were just blind on sight. And sure, the defenders waited to start swinging and getting the defense, and they let the diffuser go down, but I just think that the attackers really didn't stand a chance. They had all of the intel on the attackers and just needed to shoot them when they felt like it.
Yeah, a very difficult match, especially on that second half. After it went to an even 4-4 scoreline, TSG winning 3 rounds in a row to eventually finish it off in regulation. We still do have potentially another map. This is a best of 3, but TSG now being on match in series point, now going on to their map pick. It could be a very quick game. We'll see you guys in just a minute as we take a quick break right before map 2.
face my fault. I didn't notice it was out of place. You painting fairy tales on the wall, calling to the better of the halves of me. Please show me just a little bit of honesty. I'd hope I got a heart that I can salvage, but it's getting harder now to recall. I know well what split out both dry. You could have anything you wanted, anything you wanted it all for your fool's gold. And I know well why deaf and half blind. You could get anything you wanted. Yeah, I would have handed it all over, falling for you. Only the fall for you, for you, Came in and you're looking like a sign of grace. I know, but I can never match your name to face my fault. But when I noticed it was far too late, you left a fingerprint on my soul.
And I've been chillin', watching the ocean with you. Baby, up with a slow motion crew. And we up in our cloudlands when people change, but not us. And we just chillin', kicking it, kissed by the sun. Could be soaked to the skin in the monsoon. I know she got the good vibes when seasons change, but we're the same. Even if I lost all my money, the zero runs deep, honey. And I don't need to speak a single word, 'cause you got me holding, holding. Even if my jokes aren't funny, my tongue tied up on it. And I don't need to speak a single word, 'cause you got me holding, holding. 'Cause you got me holding, holding. 'Cause you got me holding. And I'll be running, possessed by a low, low voodoo. Fired up like a wolf on a full moon. And we're stuck in a la la land. The tides will turn without us. And I'll be killing time like I might be a cartoon. Take it in real life like haiku. I know we got the good vibes when pieces fall right into place. Even if I lost all my money, the zero runs deep, honey. And I don't need to speak a single word, 'cause you got me holding, holding. Even if my jokes aren't funny, my tongue tied up on it. And I don't need to speak a single word, 'cause you got me holding, holding. 'Cause you got me holding, holding. 'Cause
Welcome back, everybody, to Play Day 3, Week 1 of Blitz Season 2. We are in the matchup of Lycus Empire versus TSG. Now, going into the second map after TSG pulled away Lycus's map pick on bank 7-4, as slowing them down and giving them a lot to deal with.
Yes, we are about to move on to our second map, being Club. A lot of the issues we were seeing on that first map just came down to players giving 1v1s without any follow-up. So they would have solo roamers that had zero opportunity for refrags, or we would see a crazy jump out happen, which resulted in a 2-for-1 trade. We just saw a lot of laziness, particularly on the side of the defense a lot of the times, in giving up easy picks. And I think it was specifically Lycus that struggled with that a lot. And we did see some potential for them to come back for it, and I hope that now we're onto a more default map. Despite this being TSG's pick, I feel like Lycus should also be more comfortable on it by nature, because it is one of those just like core competitive maps. So I like to think that even though it's their pick, they will still, give us a better game on it.
Yeah, I agree too. And also, keep in mind, for every single map, Lycus will be starting on the defense. And Clubhouse being, honestly, it can go 4-2, but it isn't a very definitive map in the sense where it really just favors the defense. It has been more commonly, we've been seeing 3-3 halves for the split, or even sometimes around, we've even seen the attack been favored. Obviously, it depends on the overall play styles of both teams, what they, in theory, want to bring to the map, and also the map, or the, operator bans. We saw that Deimos come out from Lycus just really didn't get a whole lot of use, especially as they had a huge problem simply just winning those opening engagements.
Right, and especially with Lycus still being on the defense first and having shown us that they prefer this solo roamer strategy, I wonder if we are going to see very similar things to what happened in Bank, where they just lose that opening engagement. And even on the attack, they would just send one entry in to see if they could poke their head in, sometimes without even a drone in front of them, or maybe that drone came in earlier, but that intel is really only good for like 3 seconds before, someone could have walked in, someone could have moved, anything could have happened. And so to just be sending in one person, you're sending them in to either hopefully get a pick, which is what they're crossing their fingers for, or what's happened a lot on that previous map is they would just send in and die without any refrag potential.
And hopefully we'll be able to get into the game soon. It won't be now. We'll have to take a little bit of a break as we just wait for the players to get into the lobby. We'll see you guys in just a second.
trying to change what I've been trying to say. Words don't come straight from my head to my mouth. It's such a shame that it fell out of place. Was never me that was bringing you down. Why we always looking for more?
Welcome back, everybody. It is Lycus Empire, the Pro League LATAM team, after making a couple of changes against TSG Black. Not their Pro League LATAM roster. TSG taking map 1, that being Lycus Empire's pick of bank 7-4 in regulation, essentially stunting them after making a couple of roster changes, and now going on to the second, what could potentially be the very first or very last map of this series, rather, as it's TSG's pick of Clubhouse.
And to think that 2 of the members of Lycus had previously left TSG, they have a lot to be proving tonight. So I hope they're able to bring it back for this map. When we see the bans coming out, Ying, who was super crucial in last map's executes, I'm wondering if that might have been a changed ban for Lycus to try and target that aspect of TSG's playstyle. The Monty being common with the shield meta, and then Azami and Kay being the same bans that we saw previously. Azami with her Kibos, she's just super strong, specifically for like gym bedroom hold and basement, and really there's nowhere that she isn't useful. And Cade just making sure that hatches aren't something that you need to worry about, despite having, Tubby on the board.
Yeah, and the name of the game for Lycus is just fixing that early round, both on the attack and the defense.
Attackers need to
TSG just
locate and
absolutely
defuse bombs.
ran away with shutting down those entry engagements. And it's kind of a situation where we saw a lot of rounds, I believe like 3 to 4, where we saw 2 picks go completely untraded to TSG, as Lycus just continued to put themselves in more difficult situations. Also, again, as this is TSG's map pick, Lycus will be picking that defense, which statistically is the favored side, even though Clubhouse does and has in previous matchups throughout every
10
region
seconds left.
and tier of Rainbow Six Siege. It has kind of gone, more towards the attack, even seeing
5
some
seconds
4 to
remaining.
attacking halves. But again, in theory, this should be a relatively
Attackers
good
objective
half
is
for
to
Lycus
locate
as
a
they
bomb and
look to
defuse it.
find an answer for Bank.
I gotta say, what's interesting is that we see Lycus taking a Vigil, but Vigil does not have Boss G, which has been like the most notorious gun in the game since it got its little buff, and it's just surprising to see that it's not there. I mean, I've seen games where both Nope and Vigil are banned for the gun alone.
Yeah, the really funny thing about the Boss G is the only reason it got ACOG was because Bikini Body thought it would be funny, and that's why we have it. Ephia, though, getting an entry pick onto the Ashe very early on, just 40 seconds into the round, that's going to be absolutely huge for Lycus. You still do have Jay all the way over in CC, still residing in that position, so there's still a whole lot for TSG to work with on this roam, even after losing the very first entry pick.
For sure, that was the issue we saw with them last round, where they would lose these openers. So to see them get that opening so strong, it's going to be very big for them. I just hope they can keep this advantage. As Vigil is now droned out, he's going to have to use some of that util and make an escape route for him, as they know exactly where he is. And TSG has been notoriously good at pushing out these roamers in duos, and we are going to see him go down to Geek. I mean, we saw the Buck also had his fallback in case he did try to get away. That Vigil was going to be good.
Yeah, just Vigil overstaying his welcome. Legion, though, going all the way back down to the bomb site. Again, we will not be seeing that mirror being brought out by Lycus. Lycus not necessarily really liking bringing out that mirror, even all the way back onto Bank. PSG still setting up this vertical to push these players out. A late rotation and feed holes being made by Lycus on top of that, and TSG, they don't have a whole lot of intel. They do have a couple of pings, but it's not going to be onto a player, and rather just simply trying to continue to get these holds open.
We can see all 3 smoke canisters still in pocket with less than a minute left, and the Goyo canisters set up on site. Lycus is just going to be playing for denial here. They are making sure that TSG wastes all the time they have, so when they need to drop onto site, they are met with smoke and fire. We see some of those Goyos coming out to really delay and prevent the attackers from walking in.
Still another Goyo over by that bottom main position that can be shot out, so just still so much time wasting utility for Lycus, but TSG, this drone is going to give them so much utility and intel on the position. The smoke eventually will be dealt with by Geek, but from the grave, he's able to get one backed up by Cadence. Cadence with a double for the round. Now it's all up to Geek the Freak, but it's just not enough as Lycus take the very first defensive round on Clubhouse.
What an opener for Lycus. They were able to correct so many issues that we saw with them that first map. I mean, we did still see that Vigil overstaying his welcome. Really, when they knew where he was, they droned him from red. They knew, like, they had pressure on Plat. He should have been trying to get out of there a lot sooner. So overstaying that welcome did cost them in the round, but it did not cost them the round. So they have lots of time to correct that, but now we have TSG's attempts to, you know, adapt to them, and I was excited to see that blitz for a second, but they did swap off of it. I was thinking they were going for a rush, but no, they've got a very classic double breacher lineup. They're going to be going likely for that split push with Jacuzzi and Flat Wall, and also very classic from the defense as well. We're going to see a Wamai likely playing in Rafter. They've got the castle to slow down the attackers. I think this should be pretty textbook, honestly.
Yeah, it is also just a little bit questionable, in my opinion, that we're seeing Lycus go from the basement bomb site to CCTV. Even though it has, you know, fallen more into, you know, favorable play time, it still is the third option usually for a majority of teams. Not even be attempting to go to that basement in gym bomb site. Second, already going to what is statistically the least favored defensive bomb site, giving TSG something new to deal with in this round. Scarp switching through 3 operators the entire round, opting off of that Thermite eventually onto the Zofia. Also, not questionably, but interestingly, with that bomb diffuser also, a drone also off the board very early on, as Lycus are denying so much.
Thatcher is going to lose a big chunk of damage, though. Already down to 33 health. He's playing this game on hard mode now.
Yeah, it's just that wall specifically, just playing Maverick as a whole is just so difficult, especially just in a competitive setting. But Plixos also just losing so much health, all the way down to 90. He's going to continue to hold this cross, trying to eventually catch a Lycus player off guard. The C4 also will be shot, a little bit more utility off the board, and half of this round that has now been wasted simply just trying to get these walls open, even though it will eventually be successful.
Right, and util coming up from the Ashe and the Zofia. I don't know what Kaden was doing there, though. Walking in front of that open window is a death sentence for the defenders.
Yeah, yet another opening pick to TSG, but they're just not in the right positions to execute onto the bomb site. Maverick also getting this single wall in cache open, applying just a bit more pressure into Corvo, who is that last standing player in front of TSG, trying to get onto this bomb site. They haven't been able to clear out Raptors, but it doesn't matter. Plixos is able to find one, and the hatch open from below by Jay. He's also to find one. Plixos with a triple in the round, still so low on health. He does see the Valkyrie site, is able to escape with his life. No, and the clock now ticking down, the 6th man, the 3rd man for Lycus Empire. No one on the main breach. Finally able to eventually get this cache wall open, but TSG, you have the man advantage. You do have 2 players low in health, but they're starting to waste so much time, allowing for Sai to reposition. He does get eventually the pick, but a refrag from Scarp, and it's Slash to eventually finish it off, and TSG, they take their very first attacking round and even it out 1-1.
What a response from TSG, I will admit, I loved the play with the hatch to just drop him into bar where a gun was waiting to greet him. I'm surprised though, Lycus has seemed like they enjoy playing these roams, but they were contained onto site like within half of the round. And once you're at that place where everything is open, it's hard to play on defense, right? And I'm honestly surprised to see them go there again. My hot take is that even bar is actually a better site than CC, because I just don't like CC. I don't understand the people who do.
I don't either, and we saw, you know, textbook, case and scenario on why you don't go CC, especially when you have Master and Gym open on the board. It is going to be a questionable choice that we will still continue to question. And, you know, it can go back to the idea that maybe Lycus simply just cannot play Master and Gym. That is definitely a possibility. We're most likely going to be in a scenario of win or lose. They will be going back down to that basement bomb site. But this just continues to give TSG a relatively easier advantage to win this round back-to-back now.
Right, and it's just surprising to see a team that has 2 previous LATAM pros, and they're not taking, you know, Gym. They're not taking what is largely regarded as the better map, which makes you think, okay, do they have something up their sleeve, or is this specific map somehow their kryptonite?
I don't even know how that C4 got out, but it just completely misses the Maverick. And again, just this time, Geek is just making so much more progress. Cuervo potentially eyeing to get this player, but again, Geek is able to make this wall soft with that buck on the board. We won't have a Zofia from Scarp. He will fall back onto this Thermite. Will now be the primary hard breacher. No more ace on the board. Just bringing that buck to give them a little bit more of, you know, capability and durability throughout the entire round.
You know, you have to ask, with the Zofia and Ashe, it was so easy to get past those castles, but in this round, they only really have the Iana's gone 6, and, you know, punching the wall to get past these castles, which will really slow them down on the attack. But not enough, as he's just gonna hop in the window.
Slash with the opening, Geek with a follow-up. Jay is able to get one below, but he's eventually dealt with it. Now it's all up to Cuervo trying to find that last TSG player, and TSG letting Lycus know that they probably should not go CCTV, as now Lycus losing that advantage, and more than likely will be going down to that church and arsenal bomb site.
Right, back to a site that they won before. They're more comfortable on, I suppose. I just don't know why they tried to force CC, and I hope that after this round, they learned from those last 2 rounds. I mean, they just let someone hop in CC window. You know, TSG was more respectful that first round. They played it very textbook. They took the time to open all the walls. But that second round, they said, hey, if you're gonna leave this open for us, we're just gonna walk in the front door.
Yeah, and on top of that, you had Jay with the exact same hold over and break. Just having those 2 castle barricades, just the definition of not even a stale hold, but just the exact same hold, a replica at that. And, you know, obviously, you know, I've heard from Twitch chat from the Lycus Empire admin that apparently they're still trying their 5th rather. Also with that sub, keep in mind, so there is still a little bit of that, you know, testing phase. But again, it's just not an excuse to go with the exact same hold on a site that you know for a fact you should not be playing when you have that not basement, but the bedroom option. But now they'll be able to go back down to that basement. That Legion getting a little bit aggressive early on with that drone identifying him. He will read the room. Fall back down over to main stairs. They know exactly that he's here, and Afa has to be careful that he doesn't overplay his position.
Ram coming out, not only great for creating that vert, but also such a good audio cover. I've seen so many rushes concealed behind a Ram drone's noise. And we do have that blitz on the board, so I am excited to see when and where they're about ready to just run into sight.
Jay just really loves this position. He's played the exact same hold. This time around, he won't have that castle to back him up and support him. Afa still over by main stairs. They have identified that this Valkyrie, or the Wamai rather, will be in this position. A lot of utility on the back of him also. They will be able to eventually get this hatch open, as again, Slash is able to deal with that Legion very early on.
Jay is able to make good in his spot though. He's able to trade out the Legion for the Ray, but Captown is just dropping his planting on sight.
Ixo's trying to get this bomb down. The smoke, will it deal with him? But he gets the bomb down. TSG, though, they lose the man advantage. Scarp is able to find Cuervo right in front of his face, trying to retake the space upstairs. A nade coming out onto his teammate. Cuervo with an absolutely nasty shot, but Blitz is able to eventually down him on the bomb. Scarp with a relatively safe position, just has to do with these last two players, not lose his life. He's able to get a couple of shots onto Shia, trying to get that bomb down. Still just not being able to deal with his Blitz. He does get the down. Now it's going to be all up to Kidden on the bomb, and with the kill from Blitz, that's all it's going to be. And TSG, they now take 3 rounds in a row and put themselves up 3-1.
I just thought for sure the Lycus had that. I was convinced. You have that 3v1, the last player's upstairs and has a pistol. But they just couldn't shoot him through the shield.
Wow.
Wow, I am impressed, I guess, for lack of better words.
It really looks like, and you know, I'm trying my best to not be too hard. Those past 3 rounds for Lycus, it really looks like not only did they just not know how to play those bomb sites, but no player was on the same page. And for the very first time, not only will we be seeing the top floor bomb site over by gym and bedroom, but also Lycus, after refusing to bring her out eventually, we will have that mirror on the board to try and disconnect the map, and this is relatively what you should expect out of a gym and master setup.
10 seconds left
Right,
before
and,
insertion.
you know, just to mention, they are finally bringing this
5 seconds to
site,
go.
which is so often taken as, you know, a first site if it's not basement.
Attackers must locate and
I'm
defuse
surprised
the
that they
bomb.
waited until round 5 to show us it.
Yeah, and also down on the round count, realizing that they didn't want to go into that basement bomb site, even though it wasn't really necessarily a problem with their entire hold. Their extension in Rome was just so easily read by TSG, and again, it was just so similar. The round after round, they continue to do setups that are either similar or exactly the same that they did before. They do identify Jay on this Rome relatively easily, and Godux on the A side of all players, just completely clearing out this position of the map.
Yeah, bringing another textbook kind of push with the double breacher and the Thatcher and the bug. Yeah, very, you know, classic. They're doing that, you know, split take. We do have Valk looking to be sneaky below, see if maybe she can get a C4. And she does. Huge for Lycus to get that opening pick, if she can get back safely, that is, and not be a trade, but 1-for-1. Not horrible for the defenders.
Again, just on the roam specifically for Lycus, they just continue to isolate the players. TSG, though, aside from getting that answer back and control of cash that they don't even fully have, they have identified that it is clear. They're simply just going to continue to work these windows and eventually try and get Jacuzzi Wall open on top of it.
Yeah, losing the ace wasn't great for them because you do lose those Selmas. I didn't see how many he had left in pocket. But they still have that thermite with a 1 in pocket, and they are going to find that pick and just continue walking.
Slash with an absolute heater, almost finding the head of Sai, and he in fact does. Another player extends. Cadence is eventually able to deal with him, but here is Scarp shutting down Corvo now. It's just Cadence all alone in the 1v2 now. The
No
bomb
reticle
going down, a
even.
couple of shots. He isn't able to deal with Geek, though. He doesn't even know where the bomb went down, completely in the wrong bomb site. TSG, they completely vacate Master. One player outside, one over by Cash. He has identified where this bomb has been planted, but he doesn't even have a semblance of a clue of where these last two players are. Just working off of this swing. Absolutely perfect by TSG as they take now a fourth of Scarp finishing off, and Lycus continue to just struggle in this defensive half.
And you could just tell, I don't want to say like how much better TSG is, but the fact that they, they put that bomb down and then, like you said, they immediately evacuated Master. Caden had no idea where they were. He now not only had to deal with this 1v2, but he had to play hide and seek first to even figure out where they were. It was so heavily in their favor once they got the diffuser down, and the fact that they just throw so many bodies to one person before that refrag is answered, things are just not looking good for Lycus.
It is strange for me to watch this TSG roster attack because they are just so mature in the way that they just mark off their checklist, especially in the roam clear. The fact that they have 3, maybe even sometimes 4 drones behind their entry player is exactly why they continue to absolutely thrive in these entry engagements. Whether or not they lose them, even if they do eventually follow suit relatively shortly after losing it with an answer back in a trade. And for a T3 team, especially with some of these players who have had difficulties before, not only is it great to see, but it's also just something you don't relatively see a whole lot.
Right, and you have to think back to Bank. The rounds that Lycus won on defense were the rounds that they weren't roaming. They were the rounds that they all stayed in sight and waited for TSG to mess up. And we're not seeing that. We're seeing a Valk get aggressive on main stairs window and get shot from spawn.
I mean, at this point, just Slash is just not doing anything wrong. He can't lose a gunfight. And not only do you use your Valkyrie, which sure, she is able to get all of her 3 evilized plays, but that C4 now completely useless. No Kate on the board. This 2 morale will be brought out, but because you could clear that player so early on, it's just going to be not even really a factor in the round. You're just going to waste those 4 canisters. It will probably at least maybe waste a minute at that. And also, again, Jay just playing the same position, completely isolated, and sure, there was maybe like 1 drone, but TSG not even really contesting this point. Again, just trying to go for that drop over an armory.
Right, and we talk about how sure Valk used her util, but util, the game isn't just about util. It is still a first-person shooter at the end of the day, and to be down a gun, to be down a life, that is going to hurt you, especially when you lost it 2 minutes, like with still 2 minutes left for the attackers.
Yeah,
I mean,
now...
Jay just over there, he's not doing anything. Like, I hate to be rude.
Yeah, it is kind of a situation where we're just saying, Jay, you gotta read the room, you gotta do something. He will eventually impact that wall, trying to potentially get the pick onto Valkyrie, but he'll just miss the head of Godox, even taking damage himself, forcing to be pushed back, especially with that drone. It surely should be a message that he needs to fall back down to blue. Plexos able and ready to get this smoke down, but here comes Jay. He almost just misses the head. Not aware of the position of that player in the execution. A couple of shots. Jay is able to eventually get a pick, but the hatch drop from TSG. The plant now going down for Plexo. Slash also retaking, but Jay retaking on the top 4, completely vacated. 1 more player over by Gate, and now Plexos gets 1. Plexos now down. It's a 1v1 against Sai and Geek. Eventually, Plexos is dealt with. He does hop on the diffuser, and with these Hibana charges, he may not be aware. He gets the red ping. A couple of shots. This does get the player off the diffuser. It does allow him, and this drone continuing to just relay information. Sia has to go for the kill, but with the time ticking down in that flashbang, it's simply just not going to be possible.
Oh, no.
And Geek being backed up by his team, just playing with his food. Sai's able to get the kill, but it's not going to be enough as TSG do the unthinkable, taking a 5-1 attacking half on Clubhouse going into the second.
You know, you almost have to think that Jay heard us telling him to do something. That was almost a really good, it was a really good play on him. It just was too late. I mean, and then he wasn't able to get that final pick, which brought us to a 2v2, which was super helpful for the defenders. But to think that if that could have happened sooner, you know? And the fact that with the Vector, if you don't get a headshot with it, you're probably not getting that kill.
Yeah, it is not only a question, because if you just put him on a Vigil, obviously he was
Give
more
him the
than
boss
likely.
G.
Yeah, give him the boss G, give him
Attackers have located
something.
a bomb.
Obviously, the Goyo did add a lot of use to that round. Did a great job of just, you know, wasting that time against TSG. But you just don't have that gun in that position. Honestly, Jay should not have been in that position. 4 rounds, 4 to 5 rounds he's in that position. Even when they weren't on that bomb
10
site,
seconds left.
there was just a lot of questionable decisions. And it's kind of a situation now where Lycus are on the attack and there's really so much they can do.
Attacker's objective is to defuse
What needed
the
to
bomb.
happen was Lycus needed to take their time out in that half and figure out why they were losing the defensive half. You know, whether or not it's even on paper, I still view Club as a defender-sided map, and to go 1 and 5, you have to be able to identify what's going on and fix it. You need to adapt to the other team, and that is something that TSG has showed us they can and will do, but not necessarily Lycus, although they will get that opener pick, which is something that we talked about a lot about them needing to do.
Yeah, Jay's just feeling the pressure. He understands exactly what he needs to do. But Kaden doesn't even know that Scarp is over in supply. And now Jay also is completely speechless. They had no idea, no drone in front of him. They do realize that Slash is over in Gym. And with one player inside of initiation, they could potentially cut him off. And that is exactly what they do, killing both of these roamers from TSG now, putting Lycus Empire in a 4v3 going on to the site execute.
Yeah, I mean, we have to say we've just talked for this whole half about how TSG can roam clear them. And this is Lycus saying, hey, we can roam clear too. If you want to send your roamers up here, we will find them as well. Although I will say TSG did a lot better about trading out a lot of them. And now with a minute 30 left, they are still, 3 and 4. But they have that smoke, they have that Goyo to slow down the attackers even further. And they have a Castle who just hit a flank and is going to keep going, bringing it to a 3v3.
Yeah, just Plixos doing an absolutely phenomenal job at playing. Spoilers for this round, shooting. He's gone just a little bit early. It doesn't matter though, he's down, but he gets the kill on the Saya. And Afia is able to get him, but just way too late in the round. And these last two players completely disconnected. Corvo still not even able to get these hatches open just yet. Rotating over, still has to get the hatch drop over by Church, and there's just so much time being wasted by Lycus here. The Castle just did such a phenomenal job, and oh no, we got the drone bug on top of it. We can't exactly see what's happening here. So
we can guess.
Yeah, we can.
Oh,
we
we've
can
got
guess.
the loading bar now.
You can't ask for that. There we go. We're back. You can't see anything yet.
But
It's
we
gonna be
can
going up
hear.
and down. Yeah, we can hear. Oh, there we go. 26 seconds left on the Cuerva. Getting that bomb down. The smoke just not doing enough. Eventually will be able to deal damage. He will have to go out of his position. Just 6 seconds, but didn't know that Geek was there. It's all up to Ophelia. Both Scarp and Geek trying to power this 2v1 over in Kitchen. Will Ophelia be ready for it? He gets one onto Scarp, rotates over, gets the ping onto Geek, is trying to pre-fire him. He is able to eventually deal with Geek as Lycus. After 5 rounds in a row, they stop the bleeding and bring us to a 2-5 round count.
But you have to look at that and realize it wasn't a clean round by any means. It still came down to a hero play by the Twitch at the end to get that 1v2 fight. And it came down to the fact that the smoke missed his smokes, so So the Hibana was able to plant mostly for free.
Defenders protect
It was
your
not
bombs from
clean,
being
but
defused
it
by
was a
attackers.
round in their favor, which we like to see. We want to see this map go long. We want to see a decider map. We want to see more from Lycus. We just need to hope that they give it to us.
Yeah, it's kind of a situation where
Attackers have
Lycus,
located a bomb.
they're still in a position, and in a position is the best word I can use. Not in a great position, not even in a good position at that.
It's a position.
It is a position of all positions. Because keep in mind, even though that Clubhouse does tend to swing, even maybe in some cases to an attacking favored half, the way that TSG has been playing, that was kind of a round where it was just a poorly fought 2v1, just giving too many isolated kills to that last attacker holding that post plant. And it's just a situation where if just one decision was made differently, it could have been a TSG round. But nonetheless, TSG going back down to the exact same bomb site, reading into exactly what I just said, that their overall hold, and especially that lurk from the castle, did absolutely wonders. And just wanted to play it just a little bit different.
Right. I think TSG is recognizing that they probably could have and should have won that round. And so they're thinking, why not just run it back, right? I mean, the Mozzie coming out on the other end, I think they took Mozzie last round too, but I didn't see a ton of, usage from it. So hopefully we'll see something different. The castle, of course, going to be trying to slow them down, but with the Ashe and Zofia, probably will be negated. And Lycus, once again, losing that opening pick. Not looking good at all.
On the Ronnie, of all guns to lose, eventually he does overstay his welcome in the server. He will lose his life / having a great game, but Sai is going to shut that down. As for now, there still is one player over in stock and no drones for Lycus, and they're completely unaware of it. And they're not only going to be able to escape with one more kill, but another one. And the castle eventually just being a little bit too silly in that position, and Ophelia able to deal with him. And again, it's Corva and Ophelia. Now in a 1v3, but a very similar situation like just the round before.
I have faith in this duo. They've done it before. Hopefully they can do it again. It kind of feels like Lycus is just waiting for TSG to, overcommit and make these mistakes, which they have done a few times. But they're not throwing anything major, and I'm not sure why Hibana is, peeking these doors with her pellet gun out. If there was a person there, she was dead. But Twitch is dropped.
Bomb diffuser had
A kill eventually, but Godox will be there to shut it down, and Geek with the follow-up in TSG. They don't make the same mistake twice, and they take match in series point.
Match point, and still no timeout from Lycus. I will say it before, and I've said it again. Timeouts need to be utilized. They are such a buff that teams are given. I know in the women's league, they are given by default at halftime. There's just a minute halftime in the women's league because it's just so strong for both teams to have time to talk and recollect your
Attackers
thoughts.
need to locate
And the
and
fact that
defuse
Lycus hasn't
the
used it on
bomb
either map. I mean, have they just given up? Are they not trying to problem solve? Lots of questions, very little answers.
Yeah, and keep in mind after I made a wrong point, this is a completely new Lycus player. The only player that is still here from the Stage 2 LATAM roster is Ophelia. And, when you make a completely different roster stage after Stage 2, now going into Stage 1 of next year, keep in mind, maybe even potentially SI Quals, I don't want to say it looks worse, because you can't really get worse than, a 1-9 stat line, but they just haven't really made the move. And I'm not exactly sure if these players are not the answer, or if these players have not had the time to really coerce, get to know each other, and really understand their overall play. So we've seen a lot of rounds, a lot of stale strats, both on the defense and now on the attack in Clubhouse. And, maybe they just need a little bit more time. But, the fact in the pudding right now is that this is just not their game.
I would agree with that analysis pretty wholeheartedly. That's really what it felt like, is that there's just a lack of cohesion in the team. I mean, I feel like we see a good amount of it from Afia and Cuervo. That was the Habana and Zofia last round. They seem to do well together when they're in those two dances, but they need to take that level of synergy and apply it on the whole team. They need to play together more.
Yeah, and you know, a relatively very consistent half. No opening pick found just yet, but they are able to get both Jacuzzi and Single Wall.
Yeah, that Tubby coming out a little too late and wrongly placed.
Yeah, but the good thing, though, for TSG is that not only is there no contention, but the CC wall completely left up. The Bandit's not even touched, and this just gives such a difficult push for Lycus as they kind of just have to edge their way through this hole.
I will say it's something that is unfortunately seen on a lot of inferior teams when they can't work a split push, so they try to just shove one side.
Ophelia, though, is able to find two. That's a huge opening, but Scarp and Geek, they stop the party. Caden finds another one, but Polixos is able to stop his teammate now. It's just Caden all alone in the 1v3, but it's not going to be enough. Polixos is able to eventually shut it down, and TSG Black, they take the series 2-0 and take their very first matchup in Blitz Season 2 as a win.
I mean, it sounded like both of us at the beginning were thinking that Lycus would be taking it, but we were both proved very wrong today.
To say the least. I think, to be nice, you know, to put in nice words, I think we can chalk this entire matchup to just growing pains for Lycus Empire. There were just a lot of rookie mistakes, even as me, you know, in a very short, you know, coaching stint, can just realize that, yeah, this is a problem, and a consistent one at that, that should have been solved a long time ago, especially when you don't even attempt to take a timeout once throughout two maps. TSG really making a statement in a very close group.
Right. I mean, you have to look at it, and with the culture, I guess, of T3, where you just, you know, drop a player, pick up a player, oh, that didn't fix it, drop them, pick someone else up. It's not healthy for team synergy. It's not good to build that cohesion, and that's how you get teams that have, you know, players that are good on paper, or maybe look like, you know, the five of them together should work well against another team, but then they don't, because they don't play with each other. They don't know how to expect each other to play. And when you're against a team that does do that, they do play together. They have that cohesion. They know how to work as a team. It's just going to be a massacre. And that's what we saw today.
Yeah, and with that win and no other team, that being Thrive, the only other team in Division 4 not have played a game, TSG will top their group for play day 3, and that will be all for today. We will have a game being played off stream that more than likely will be updated on Twitter or in the Discord server later. But thank you all for watching, and we will see you next time for week 2.
Been trying to change what I've been trying to say. Words don't come straight from my head to my mouth. It's such a shame that it fell out of place. Was never me that was bringing you down. Why we always looking for more? Why we always looking for what you want.